Welcome to this episode of Creatively Speaking. My name is Leanna Weller-Smith, and I am the Executive Creative Director of Weller-Smith Design. Today, I'll be speaking with Lynn Lindbergh, the creator and owner of Couch to Active. She is the self-acclaimed bad couch guru, and we're going to be talking about how she took her signature course and turned it into a book. She is a firecracker, and she has so much great information to share, and I can't wait for you to listen to this episode. If you have any questions, feel free to send us a message. Enjoy. Hey, Lynn, how are you?
Hey, doing good. How are you, Leanna?
Good. I'm so glad that you're joining me. This is super exciting to chat with you because we just finished publishing your new book.
We're done. We're finally done.
It's like a celebration, and I feel like we didn't really get to fully celebrate when we launched it, so I'm super excited. But you will have to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and so that people can get to know you.
Great, thank you very much. It's great to be talking with you, Leanna. I know, and not about getting the book done. So I am Lynn Lindbergh. I am the founder and president of Couch to Active. I call myself the bad couch guru because I just believe life is better with a wink and a smile, right? And I work with clients one-on-one through a program called Couch to Active. It's a high-end, high-quality, intensive program that gets folks from a sedentary lifestyle to an active lifestyle that they actually love. And I love that work. I love the transformation in people's lives. But I started asking myself the question, like, how can we get this message out to more people? Because it was being received really well. And that is where I made a big business decision to take this program and turn it into a compelling book where somebody could self-study and get this transformation in their own lives. And that's what slowly led me to you, Leanna.
Yeah, no, I found that super interesting. Like, there's a whole bunch of things that I want to kind of touch on with you. Because when we first met, you had already written a book on your own. You had already written a book and published it. And so you'd already been through that whole process. And I'm curious about that process, for one thing, and how, like, what you did, because I do think it's quite interesting. There's a lot of DIYers that will do exactly what you're doing, what you did initially, and I think it's great because it gets something out there. But then I'm curious from that, like, what made you decide to approach your second one from a different standpoint?
Sure. No, my first book is called, if you're on the video and you can see this, it's called Couch to Active 2 Year. If you can't see it, don't worry. I'll talk you through it. You'll be just fine. So at the end of the program with my clients, they get this hardbound or spiral, their choice, spiral-bound book that they use for 2 whole years to ensure that the transformation in their life actually sticks. And I've been hearing, you can DIY books, and I'm a real great self-study. I get in and learn, and I've also been in education and training and producing training for over 20 years. So I went in, rolled up my sleeves, and I did it. And I produced this whole book. It's 96 pages, so it's pretty small, by myself. But then when it came to doing the Couch to Active book that I worked with you, Leanna, on, I first started and I thought, oh, I'll do this one myself.
The truth comes out. You started it on your own.
I did. And I had the course already written, and I did that myself. And I went in and I thought, I'll just start pulling the course materials and putting it together, and really, really quickly realized I needed help, because I wanted this to be, high-end, high-quality, like top-notch professional. And so I reached out to a friend of mine, Beth Brombaugh, Dr. Beth Brombaugh, a friend and colleague, and said, I need some help pulling this out and together, because it's just way huger than I thought it would be. And she did the initial pull of the course into a manuscript. And then she even said, hey, you need to work with an actual high-end design firm because there's so much going on where you can make this book awesome. And she referred me to you. So that's where we met and where it all began. I know.
Well, I found it so interesting because your first book, you told me you did it in Canva. And
Yes.
I was like, wow, that is such a feat. But I do have to reiterate, which is what I tell people is, I think it's fantastic to get something out there. And if you DIY it, there's no shame in DIYing.
Yep.
But I think that what you noticed and what you realized is that for your second one, you wanted this to be your signature product.
Yes.
So that's where the difference came in between the first one. It's like kind of seeing how it works. What's great is you knew the process pretty much from learning it yourself. And then for this second one that's built from your program, I think that's brilliant. I think a lot of people don't even realize that they can take their program and turn it into a book. And I thought that was really such an interesting kind of angle that you were taking because you already had the content. It was already there. It was now just packaging it into a book that you could sell, and it can go in tandem with your program. So it was pretty interesting to hear that.
It is. And like I mentioned, my degree and background is in education, and I've spent 20 years in corporate training where really what we do is we build training in a way that another human can get the behavior change that they need, that the company needs them to have. So I'm so wired that way to really think, how does the brain work? How do we get this learning to happen? And so that's what's integrated in this book. And I got to tell you, there are some differences. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to take a course and throw it in a book and ta-da, technically that'll be correct, but one thing I did is I layered into the book all kinds of people's stories, and I layered my story, and I just poured my heart and a lot of my own vulnerable stories into the book. So then it became a whole experience of the reader gets their life transformation, and they learn about Lynn, and they learn about a bunch of other people, and they don't feel alone, and they realize we're all in this together, and so it just becomes this really big piece of the heart and the soul that comes alive by really adding that extra layer of story into the book.
Yeah, I think that was really valuable because I think even in designing it and laying out the interior, it really helped to bring those different elements in because it gave an additional voice to, it kind of gave this other level of information, this voice of yours in there, but then also to hear from these other people. And what's interesting on top of that is now that this book is out and you're giving it to these people and they are part of this, they can share their stories in even bigger ways now, which is pretty exciting. Like it's bringing your community into the production of this, to be quite honest.
It's exciting. I mean, we had one story where one woman, I worked with her, I knew her story. It was this like amazing, incredible story of where she didn't work out for an entire year. And the story's in the book. I won't give it away. And we talk about why that was right for her, which is like, oh my gosh, we're saying it's okay to not work out sometimes. Well, you got to read the book.
Yeah.
And when we were working together to draft her story for the book, she said, oh my gosh, when I saw it, I cried because I knew my story, but I never actually saw it through somebody else's eyes.
So powerful.
It was exciting. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
And what I also like about the book, I mean, I feel like a lot of, my friends, myself included, like we go through this. Like this is a struggle. It's just being active, staying active, even if you have a family, figuring out how to fit it in. But what I really liked about this is the simplicity of it in a way that you don't get overwhelmed and feel like, like I'm done after the first 2 weeks of trying this. Like this really does help you to make a lifestyle out of it. And that's what I really liked. And when I do books, I tend to have to obviously consume some of the information so that I can understand how to best represent it on the page for the readers. So, so I'm curious, since you have done this on your own in the past, and then since hiring us and working with us, and even working with, Beth, like, what was the process like, and how did you feel? Like, what was the difference, and how did it make it better? Were you nervous about anything? I'm just curious from your side.
Sure. So the difference between this DIY and my book was huge. One was the quality control on working with a team was way higher, because the Couch to Active book that you and I worked on together, I wanted it to be like 100% like this is a published, not DIY looking book at all, flawless. And I think we really got there. I got to tell you, when you work with a team, it's so much more fun. I had a lot of fun. We had a couple calls where I said, I hate this stuff. I hate the numbers. I hate but then we had other calls where, when we got to see the interiors of the book, and just how Leanna, you made it a better book, because you read the book. It was clear you understood the content, because y'all, if you saw the manuscript I gave Leanna, I'm like, how did she do that? How did she, like, wow. And you added elements into the design elements that really made it so the human brain could more easily understand what's happening. And so it makes it, they say, when you make a product really elegant, people say, oh, that's simple. But it's all that complexity behind it that we made simple for the reader. The DIY, it's fun. I would say if you're flirting around with the idea of like, hey, maybe I want to publish a book, DIY it. Just get in there, roll up your sleeves. You don't even have to publish it. There's publishers out there where you can just print it and nobody will even know, and you'll learn a tremendous amount. And
I think that's really valuable, because if you're going into it and you don't understand the process, I do think like there's like this whole learning curve then of like when it comes to working with somebody or even just doing it yourself. There's a lot of time that you have to invest just to figure out how to print something, how to, like you said, how to put the books together, how to get it printed, and where it's going to be coming from, and that. So there's a lot of little moving parts that,
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And when you actually publish a book and you sell it on Amazon and Barnes and all of those, we, at the very beginning, we joked about how, your manuscript's done. Now the work begins. And I thought, oh, that's really funny. Ha. They weren't kidding.
Yeah, and I think too, like what's interesting is like even like with the cover, right? Like we went through a lot with the cover.
Oh, I felt bad. I felt bad by the time I made Leanna produce at least 30 covers for me at least.
There were a lot. Yeah, there were a lot of covers.
There were a lot, and we ended up going with the very first one Leanna produced.
Yeah.
Like literally, version 1 is what we went with.
But I think like I've worked with many authors across traditional publishers, everything, and we go through the same thing, and it really is to make sure that we get to the right solution, because there's so many different ways that you could approach the book. And I think a lot of the designs that we came up with were great, but they were very typical. And so I will show my version too.
Okay.
So I've got my version here, and what's great is you guys can't see it if you're just hearing video, or you're not seeing the video, but Lynn actually had a photo shoot done, which was great because it's on brand. Like we really talked about this, but I think that that's what pulls the whole book together, which is that you collaborated with me, with the whole team. We came up with this. Like, this was not just my idea. This was all of us that were like, well, we think we want a couch and we want Lynn on it. And we had pictures of people jumping. We had people, we tried it all.
Well, and that reminds me, oh my gosh, do you remember that conversation we had where I said to the team, I don't see any value in putting my face on the cover of this book. And I got a unanimous no. Like, yes, you need to be on the cover of this book. And so then I said, okay, I need to go do some mindset training and really get my head around being on the cover of a book. And now it feels totally natural.
It's so perfect.
Yeah.
Like, once we put all the pieces together, like, it was just like, this is what it was supposed to be. Like, it's amazing. And it was great. Like you said, like, we had this team that it was unanimous, all of us. There's 4 of us, in total. And like, we knew hands down, this is the way that it needed to go. And, and also what I don't know if people will be able to see it on, let me see if I can find a good page, but like, even like just the way that we organized it on the inside.
Yeah.
So it really is like a workbook. But you can see there's like different levels of content and copy. And what's nice is that this isn't like a regular trade publication, boring interior. It has a personality, and we really were able to take the funness of the cover. We took this whole block here and use that as inspiration for the interior. And I think it all came together great. And even the back cover, I think, it got really nice.
It was beautiful. I know that back cover, I was amazed. I just sent you 2 paragraphs, and then you did, just all that beautiful design work to it, and it was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
But it was a super fun process. And I think too, like now that you've published this, it's only been out for like a couple weeks, I think, tops, and they're not even out yet for everyone.
Today's the official publication day.
So happy publication day.
Yeah. Woo, woo, woo. We had my first pre-orders got their book already, so they got the inside scoop a little early. But yeah, today is actually the publication day,
publication day.
Yep, and I can't share details, but I already have 2 heads of departments of some like just really big organizations coming to me saying, hey, we want you to speak to our group. We want you to come and talk to our group, because there's so many. In the book we talk about fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, being quadriplegic, being bariatric surgery, hernias, like depression, massive depression, and overcoming that. And so these different groups are coming and saying, this book is finally the first book that speaks to us, helps us have compassion for ourselves and where we're at, and really deal with our reality in a really healthy way. And that was a surprise to me a little bit. But looking back, it makes total sense. So.
But and that's like, I feel like that too is part of the conversation when it comes to self-publishing. A lot of people feel like, I'm going to put this book out, it's going to become a national bestseller, it's going to become this, and it very well could be. It very well could. But I think too, it opens up these opportunities that you may have never seen initially, and that is the greater, like, that's like the building block that these books really do for people when they're expert status, and it gives them that momentum to really share what they're teaching with the masses, which is awesome.
It really does, and it is. It's not, for me, it's not about becoming a bestseller. I mean, if it does, of course, we'll celebrate. For me, it's really about a vehicle to spread the word and spread the mission. And if it's not, we say in project management, if it's not on paper, it doesn't exist, right? And so I've had this program for well over a year now, and it's a great program. It's transformed lives, but until I got it into a book, then magically people can look at, well, not magically, but look at it.
It is like magic.
It is. You look at it and say, oh, I get it. See what this is. And people know it's a ton of work to do a book. I mean, by the time you put out a book of this quality, you have read your own content 12 years. And so I can pretty much quote this whole book to you because
and that brings up a good question. Like, how long did it take? Like, how long did it take from the time that you were like, I think I should do this to, 2 weeks ago when we finally pressed?
Gotcha. So you know what? I would say a year to a year and a half. I think about a year ago, I launched a fun little challenge with my audience. That was like this 30-day challenge.
Yeah.
That 30-day challenge morphed into, it was the Get Off the Couch challenge. That challenge morphed into the training program that I use with my clients today. And then that training program became the book. And so it was kind of a 3-tier, but
yeah, and you needed that time to get like your customer results too. So so that would make sense.
Yeah, customer results and bringing in the stories of all the other people too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now, are you planning any sort of like launch party or any kind of marketing around this, or like what are your next plans to kind of get this into more people's hands?
No, I'm hiding in a cave. And
don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. It's not funny. The marketing opportunities are endless. So for folks who are, if you want like brass tacks tactical, what is Lynn doing? We've got a press release that's going out today to a bunch of different channels.
Perfect.
I'm connected with a large group of fitness influencers, and so we're doing a thing with them to help them promote the book to their audiences. I've been on 5 podcasts already, and with more to come as a guest podcast. I am in the process of recording my own podcast that will launch soon. Yes.
You're going to be great on your podcast. Just
well, thank you.
You are going to be. Just from working with you over the past few months, because it took us, I think we met in like March. Is that about right? Was it around
like
maybe
that.
a little, like something, or maybe a little after that?
Yep. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, no, the podcast is going to be fun. I got some episodes recorded already.
Awesome.
Yes, so then that in person, because it's not a DIY, because it's self-published, I've been so heads down in the book that I didn't set my sights on, I'm not touring the world and
right. But what's great is to get these speaking opportunities that can then turn into more, which is kind of like you said, it kind of just came organically.
Yeah.
Like it made sense.
Yeah, that one was completely organic. So it's exciting to see, you publish a book, and literally the day it launches, you get an email that says, we want you to come speak. How much do you charge? Like that's just really exciting to be able to reach more people that way.
Well, you'll have to make sure that you share any of those like special links or anything. If you need shout outs, you'll have to make sure that you share them with me so that I can, because I will. But I'm curious on the other side, which is more or less like, do you have like, what would your tips or advice be, I guess, to somebody who is ready to do their signature product like you did? Like, what would you like what did you wish that you knew even at this moment that we've published it? Because we always learn stuff, right?
We do.
What do you wish that you had known even
that I had known even then, if I could go back and I think one thing for me is I knew that it was going to be a lot of work. I didn't realize how much work it would be. So there's a couple of things. One is editing is an endless, bottomless pit. Like you could edit your book to eternity. So one thing I did really well was I hired an editor, and a really good one. So make that investment to hire somebody you trust who really gets it. Hire somebody who can copy edit and go in, not just proofread for grammar.
Yeah, there's a difference. There's definitely a difference.
There is, because my brain reads the words one way and another person's brain will read those same words a different way. So that was something we did really well. I think also when you work with a team, be just really clear about expectations. I think we did a good job of that, really good about whose roles are what and who's doing what by when. And then I'd say really sit down and look at your schedule and all the milestones and tasks it's going to take, because there's going to be a lot. If you've never published a book before, there's a lot more than you think. There's multiple review cycles. There's, you know, lots of work to get it published, and then on Amazon, and then on Barnes, and then you get it on Amazon, and then you get an author page on Amazon, and then you connect the book to that, and you know, and then so
it's a complicated process. It is, and even while we were going through it, we were learning all of these little nuances of it.
Yeah,
that they don't make it easy.
No, and it changes.
Yeah,
the technology is changing. So yeah,
because I know, like, even we started with CreateSpace. A lot of people did CreateSpace, and then at the end, people were like, "Nope, go to KDP." And now, sure enough, the press releases are coming out. You got to move your stuff from CreateSpace to KDP. So it's an interesting thing how everything is changing. But I'm really excited about it, because it does give people this opportunity now to be published and on Amazon, on BarnesandNoble.com, that to get their product out there, and you don't have to go through a traditional publisher and get it approved or get somebody to actually buy in on it. You can put your message out there in a much more affordable way, and so I think it's cool, like what is out there now.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's completely amazing. And by doing it this way, I own my book, I own the rights, I get all the royalties, and it's already, I mean, it's up on Amazon, it's up on Barnes.
Yeah.
And I don't know how this works, but I went to Amazon, and the book is for sale by Amazon and like 12 other sellers. I'm like, who are these and why are these?
I know. You know what was interesting too is that I even noticed, like, the first day or so, somebody had it at a discounted rate, which insider information, it was the actual printing cost. Like, basically it was like literally at cost. Like, so like maybe $1 over what the base price would be. So I wonder if it's kind of something that's affiliated with Ingram. That might be to see, like, because there's no way they can get it. The only people that can get it at that price, I think, would be Ingram. So it's an interesting thing. And I did also notice, even on Barnes & Noble for a different book, they offered it at a discounted rate, which I thought was interesting too. So there's all these things that you don't know, but each online retailer has their own rules. Amazon obviously rules the roost. So everyone wants to be on Amazon, but Amazon will, you know, torture you until they allow you on if you're not publishing straight through KDP, which is, you think it's good or bad, but at the same time, like, there's just different reasons for publishing through Ingram, because you can get into the bookstores. The physical bookstores, if you publish through them, they're a distributor and they're not just a retailer. So there's differences, and I think it's about your goal, your end goal with your product, as to, like, you wanted to hopefully get this into a brick and mortar, and the way you go is with a distributor. You can't do that through Amazon.com. So it's interesting, all the different little nuances that we even had to go through just to get the right flow for it.
There was. Yep. Getting hardcover out first was a lot more work than doing DIY paperback. But I just really wanted that hardcover out there.
But I had a blast working with you guys, and I totally appreciate your openness to actually collaborating, because, you know, it is a hard, like, this is your kind of baby in a way, right? Like, these take a long time to do, and people get really, they get nervous about the design, they get nervous about the process, they get nervous through everything, but you trusted it, and I think that made all the difference because we were able to work together to get to the right end result, whether it was cover, interior, just tweaks and things like that. But it was an awesome process working with you guys. So I appreciate that.
Likewise. I mean, you have to trust your experts to be your experts. You know, I had to trust you as the expert for interior design to be that for me. And yeah, if I came to you leading with being nervous and, you know, oh no, don't make any changes, and, you know, then it would essentially handcuff your creativity.
Yeah, because that's essentially what I did. I took your manuscript and I was like, well, let's move this here and move this here and turn this.
I know.
And you were like, okay, that is interesting. And that's the fun part for me. But you have to have somebody that will trust that.
Yep.
Because that is, you know, rearranging it. It's no longer a, you know, linear thing. It becomes like this sort of organic item when it comes to the interior. So
yeah, exactly. No, I needed you, and I needed, you know, my copywriter Amy to just feel like you could do your very best work, which meant I had to not put a stranglehold on it, and that was totally the right decision.
That's awesome. Well, you're going to have to tell us how we can find you, where, you know, what your links are, your socials, and I'll make sure that I put all that when I post everything too. But
fantastic. Yeah. So everything is the title of the book, Couch to Active. So it's Couch TO, not the number 2, couchtoactive.com. That's my website. That's all my social handles. So it's easy.
Awesome. Well, Lynn, I appreciate you taking the time. Congratulations on birthday for your book birthday.
Oh my goodness.
Celebration. And, you know, and which I'm glad, I think that's so perfect that we actually got to talk today, because the day that all of us received our books, you did not receive yours. So,
oh my gosh.
so it's fitting that we're doing this call on the actual birthday. Say that 10 times fast.
So okay, how are you celebrating, Leanna? You got to make up something quick.
Oh, I am celebrating with a few like couch jumps. So I'm perfecting my leap off the couch, and I'm gonna make it look like I'm floating, but I'm not scared that I'm going to fall. So I'm gonna be like, that's what I'm gonna do to celebrate. I'll have to try to have, you know, my son capture a photo, but we'll see.
Gosh, I love it. We need everybody to be jumping on couches, posting photos.
So now it's back at you. What are you going to do to celebrate this book birthday?
I already did. I took a whole 4 days and went camping with the family and did no work at all, even though there was a huge looming pile of marketing ahead of me, and it was awesome.
That's fantastic. Well, you deserved it. This was a lot of work, and again, I appreciate working with you. So I can't wait to see, I've been seeing all the great social media come in on this, and I know it is just the beginning. That's got to feel so good.
It's a really great, I was telling you earlier, I said it's a great time because there's massive amount of positive coming in and no trolls yet. So it's a really great phase. So.
No, that's awesome. Well, congratulations again. And thanks so much for chatting with me.
You too, Leanna. All right. Take care.
Thanks, Lynn. Bye.
Yeah.